episode 4 of Van Jammin'. This is our 4th of July special, baby.
Woo!
Yes.
Yeah.
Independence Day.
Your 3 hosts, Alec Maskell.
Braden Sunshine.
And David Kuhn.
All right. And today we are doing one of my favorite shows that I know of, Jimi Hendrix, live at Woodstock.
Yeah.
So good.
One of the most famous live sets, you could probably say.
Of all
time.
of rock music,
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah. Although, let me bring something up mildly disappointing right from the start. I feel kind of less versed than I wanted to be coming into this show. Not coming into this podcast because I listened to the show, but when you brought it up, I'm like, yeah, live at Woodstock, I know about it. I know of it. And I've seen like documentaries on the shows and the festivals and stuff like that, but I've never sat down and listened to Live at Woodstock by Jimi Hendrix. And it's fantastic.
It really
is. It's
I gotta
an
agree with you on
example
that,
of that
though.
kind of music.
Like I hadn't really listened to it much. I'd heard a few songs off of this album, but like I hadn't really listened to it as much as I'd want to. So I'm kind of glad we're doing it.
Yeah,
for this
me
show,
too.
'cause,
It's a gem. It absolutely is.
yeah.
You know, it's funny. Some of the Woodstock performances are, they really can be hit or miss. Like the Dead actually had a fucking horrible Woodstock show,
Really?
and
Really?
they say it. They always say it's their worst show they ever played.
Why would they say that?
They had some tech problems for one. It was like they played at like midnight, and it was in the
Whoa.
pouring rain. So they were literally getting electrocuted while they were playing.
So they just weren't
Oh.
having a good time.
Yeah, but they also just they weren't super tight when they played.
Oh, it's midnight.
Yeah. And they had been waiting around all day, and that was part of the problem.
They've
with
been
some
doing
of the
drugs all
scheduling.
day, and
yeah.
then at that point, you're kind of at the come down of all those drugs. So
You're
you're
just
like,
tired.
yeah,
It's like I want to go to bed.
probably.
One of the best, I would say, other than Jimi Hendrix, is Santana's performance.
Okay, yeah.
Amazing performance.
I've
Yeah.
heard.
So good. Except
I haven't listened to it.
See, I'm in the
Yeah.
same boat. I've heard that it's
heard.
fantastic, and
Heard
I've heard like
Santana's
3
performance.
songs off it that are all really good, but I've never sat down and listened to the show through.
Woodstock, Jimi Hendrix doesn't get much
Yeah.
more iconic.
I just want to point out also real quick, we're back in person.
yes.
Look at us. Not in a van, but we got Bertha the van sitting
Right
right
here.
back
Bertha's
there.
right there for
Behind the camera,
inspiration.
you can't see her, but we have her for inspiration, and yeah. So, anyways.
Still Van Jammin', just with a side of boat today.
Yeah.
So
It was just
For the
it was
4th.
just too pretty outside, and we had to.
That's the 4th of July. You gotta celebrate with
Exactly.
America.
we should have had like a grill set up and like some
Oh, I
burgers
know,
or
like
something.
a flag.
some ribs
or-
going. Right
Yeah.
Let's do all the. Somebody put like a toy Mustang on a table. You're fine.
Oh yeah.
Apple pie, and then we got all of the Americana crap.
Just supersized burgers. And
Yes. Get an extra large McDonald's like
hot
number 3.
dogs.
As
Hot
much
dogs,
Coca-Cola
burgers. Yeah.
and Bud
Coke.
Light as possible.
Just a 5-gallon
I
can
think-
of gas.
I think I was watching fireworks the other day, and Bon Jovi
Yes.
came on his like music, and I realized Bon Jovi is the most like American songwriter that like isn't specifically like American or like
Really?
like he doesn't have any songs about America, but I just think
His sound.
that his sound and
Is
his
the
song
most okay? That
is
makes
the
sense.
most American thing.
'Cause I was
Is
gonna
he
say,
even
I'm like-
American? Is he British? Or
I
is
don't
he
know.
American?
I don't know.
I have no idea.
Bon Jovi.
Because that would be funny if he's British and
Bon.
He's got to
yeah.
be American.
he sounds American.
Yeah, well, I thought you're like the most American. I was like, well, maybe Leonard Skinner.
Yeah,
Well,
I would
no.
I'd even argue like Dylan or Springsteen.
Oh,
No,
you're going
man.
way, okay.
For
See,
like
you
Or no, not
think-
Leonard
no,
Skinner,
no, for
Bruce
like
Springsteen,
Americana.
that's
Well,
what
no,
I
though.
you
meant.
think
I'm
Bruce
sorry, I'm
Springsteen
wrong.
because he has that song. Was that Born in the USA? Was
Born
him?
in the USA, but that's a
Yeah.
critique
Yeah.
of the USA.
Yeah, of course, but
No,
he,
but still, it's still an American.
but he's like
song.
Dylan,
But,
where like most of his discography
no, I'm telling
is
you, it's
about
Bon Jovi because Bon Jovi captures the essence
I
of
totally
American,
disagree.
of being American. Bruce Springsteen, and they're like, they're more.
I don't know.
folk,
Bruce
but-
Springsteen, I believe holds that place as well, just because
I
of
don't
his.
know.
All right, well, to
We're going
reel it
completely off the rails.
to
that.
reel
We'll
it
agree to
back in
disagree.
here, to reel it back in,
Jimi Hendrix.
Jimi Hendrix live at Woodstock. All right, so to get into the show here, some quick notes about the history of this famous show before we hop in.
Woodstock, baby.
Yeah. So basically, Jimi Hendrix, he died. He was part of the 27 Club, so he died pretty young. During his life, he made 3 official releases, and I guess you could say 4 because the Band of Gypsies album really is his 4th. And then, a boatload of other stuff that didn't get released while he was still alive. So for the majority of his career, he was with the Jimi Hendrix Experience. They recorded 3 albums together, and they disbanded in June of '69. Woodstock was in August of '69, I believe, or it might have been in July, actually, late July.
So like right after the Experience.
Yeah, like literally right after. So Jimmy was actually living in Woodstock during this time in the town because they were trying to get him
I didn't know that either.
interested to go and kind of like record new music to give him some inspiration. So Jimmy was one of the main headliners of the show. He was actually the last performer at the festival. A lot of people always think that he played in front of, the masses when he played there, but he actually played in front of about 200,000 people as opposed to the 500,000 that were there originally.
Yeah.
And some say that by the end of his performance, those numbers were even lower. Some people stayed to like hear him start, and then they just kind of.
I mean, 200,000 is still.
That's still
still
a sea of
so
people, but
many
it's
people,
not.
yeah.
It's not like the
No.
500,000 people in
No.
one place
Yeah.
that blows the minds of anybody who sees a picture. I mean, that is an inconceivable number of people.
So he started at 9 a.m. on Monday morning. He played with a band that only played about 5 times together. They used to even say that they actually weren't that good, funny enough. The other performances they had before this performance were all kind of lackluster, but they pulled through for Woodstock. The band, it was officially called Gypsy Sun and Rainbows, but as you hear him say on the album, he refers to them as the Band of Gypsies. Just kind of funny because the next band he would make would be the real Band of Gypsies. The lineup for Gypsy Sun and Rainbows, Mitch Mitchell from The Experience on drums, Billy Cox, who would go on to be in the Band of Gypsies, on bass, Larry Lee on rhythm guitar, the only time Hendrix ever had a backup guitarist, 2 Congo percussion players, Juma Sultan and Jerry Velez, and of course Jimi Hendrix on lead guitar.
Yeah.
So he had a rhythm player for this.
This was like, because like the Experience was a 3-piece.
Yeah.
And this is like a full
And so was Band of
band.
Gypsies.
Yeah.
So
Band of
this
Gypsies
is
was
just a
also-
weird
Well, didn't
interim.
Band of
thing.
Gypsies still have the rhythm guitars, or no?
No.
It was just for this.
This was the only time that he ever had a rhythm guitarist.
Okay.
Which is
Band of-
interesting. I've never.
See,
heard
no,
that.
but I
Yeah.
read something that said Band of Gypsies still had the percussion player and the rhythm guitarist.
So
Had one of the percussion players.
I mean, I maybe for a couple of select performances, but
Okay.
the overall like Band of Gypsies, especially on like the album,
Yeah.
is Jimmy with Billy Cox, who is the same bassist.
Yeah.
And they had a drummer, and I'm gonna forget his name. It's like Buddy something. But it was the 3 of them. And Band of Gypsies was kind of Jimmy changing over from still bringing his blues influence into the fold, but adding in a little bit of some more funk and
I
some other
this is an
influences.
end of the podcast type note, and we'll get to it. But man, I wish we could see what he would have done, because
Yeah. Well, dude, he was supposed to work with Miles
Miles
Davis,
Yeah.
and like
that would have been priceless.
that would have been
Iconic.
incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
moving forward, I just want to go back to this addition of a rhythm guitar player, because I found that significant. There were times when I was listening to this show, and I've listened to other Jimi Hendrix stuff where it is just a 3-piece, and there are points where he's kind of playing like a solo line or singular notes or something, and the sound kind of thins out for a moment and focuses really in on him, and that can add a little bit of dynamics, but sometimes it really will stop the flow of something. Because you got that whole like freight train coming down the line, and then all of a sudden he thins it out to a single solo line, and that whole massive soundscape that was built, that was running down a track, kind of fades away because he stopped playing that lower frequency rhythm stuff. Having that rhythm player in there kind of chugs that
It
whole
adds
show
to
along
it.
really, really effectively.
Yeah. I mean, I will say this album, it's like, it is just like a wall of sound, I
Yeah.
guess,
So
to use
good.
that
Yeah.
terminology. But it is just loud and like nonstop noise, pretty much.
Yeah.
But I feel like there's a difference between nonstop noise and yes, granted, what they did is a lot of nonstop noise, but like the artistry within the nuance in that noise.
Oh
the way
yeah,
that
no,
they made
it
it
is
was
not.
cool.
It's not bad noise.
No, it's good.
I
it's
mean,
a good
it's
noise.
good. It's a great album and it's good noise. But I just was saying, it is like full on from
Yeah.
start to finish.
Wall of sound. I was
Yeah.
talking to a friend of mine while listening to it, and there's this part. I forget what song it is. I think it's Spanish Castle Magic or Black Castle Magic. You know, and Jimmy's sitting on stage being all polite. It's like, oh yeah, no, we got some technical difficulties,
Yeah.
and we'll be right with you. And he, like the most polite dude in the world, and then just comes out fucking screaming
Yeah.
with this guitar solo, and it's insane. The change between the way he speaks,
man.
yeah, the change
I
between the way he
loved
speaks
when
and the way he
says
plays.
that. When he says, what was it? What did he say? You know, when they call the girls groupies and the women,
Yeah.
and then they call them this and that and ba ba woof woof. It's because they fucking not in love, man.
I
Yeah.
love it.
And I love when he's just talking to the crowd in this show.
Just bantering.
It's like makes me want to wish I was there.
Yeah,
'cause
he's friends with the crowd, and the crowds are friends with him.
Yeah, he
They're
seems
just
so
all
nice.
playing in a
Yeah.
house.
He's just friendly with everyone. I mean, that's you bring up a good point too. I know like Paul McCartney had a famous thing where he was talking about it was like 3 days after Sgt. Pepper was released, the original, and the Beatles were at a show of his in London, and he fucking went and played Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band right in front of them. Like 3 days after the album just came out, and they were like, "How did he?" But like same thing. Like they were commenting about how crazy his style is because like he's doing dive bombs and using the whammy bar and he's doing all the crazy shit he's doing. And Paul McCartney's like, yeah, like it's so different from how we play because we're in tune and very just kind of going through. And he's like, and during his playing, like I could hear him going out of tune and like playing around it. And it's like crazy. Like Frusciante, I was obviously super inspired by Hendrix, but he used to do like similar things where like just be out of tune and be like, don't worry, like I'll bend it in.
No, he would. I mean, there's
Which
a
is so
song.
cool.
There's a
Yeah.
Chili Pepper song to kind of continue with where he like it's purposefully out of tune.
Yeah.
He tunes maybe it's the G string. He tunes a little sharp, I think, just
Yeah.
because. I mean, it's the way like intervals work and the way we hear intervals.
Yeah.
It actually like ends up sounding nicer if you tune it a little sharp.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, he does that a lot as well.
Yeah.
Is
The-
it G or B string?
I think it was the G string that he tunes. It was just like it was. I watched a video on it. I don't remember the actual interval,
But I know
or
what
the
you're talking
song,
about,
but but I know that he did it for one of their famous songs. Might be Scar Tissue.
Little fun fact about Scar Tissue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyways.
Well, speaking, perfect segue into that. Jimmy's iconic guitar setup for the show.
Yeah.
So for pedals, he had a Vox wah pedal, a fuzz face pedal, which is like the landmine type, and then a Univox Univibe, which is basically like a chorus and vibrato pedal.
Yeah, from what I saw, it looked like it was a chorus and tremolo effect combined.
Yeah.
That it just kind of like naturally combines them.
And
Also-
the big song that he used that on, that isn't on this album, but that he does tease during "Hear My Train a Comin'" is "Machine Gun." That's the big song where he
Yeah.
uses the Univox.
Yeah, I mean it's kind of like so a chorus is like a chorus is essentially a very short delay that makes it sound like two people or multiple people are playing. Sometimes you can have them stacked on top of each other, so it sounds like a chorus, hence the name. And then a tremolo was basically like an alternating pitch where it just kind of is sort of making it a little sharp, a little flat, and it's just going back and forth between that. So having that combined, it gives it. I thought it was a flanger at first, or like, and you said phaser. So it gives it that kind of effect. Of like
online
a
it
wow, wow,
said
wow.
phaser. It says that it's like kind of like a phaser pedal, but I saw more of like the chorus and vibrato, like you had said.
What I think is cool is that he
Just
achieves such a.
bring the mic a little closer when
Sorry.
you're talking. No, it's okay.
What I think is cool is that he achieves such a depth of tone and such expression with a relatively simplistic setup. I mean, you think
Yeah.
about all the kids who walk into these bargain basement Guitar Center, scratch and dent sections and pick up 30 pedals,
Yeah.
and start, stringing them together. Yeah, you'll find something, but this kind of embodies, at least to me, the concept of you really don't need that much to get exactly what you are looking for.
Well,
if you can tune it just the way you need to,
Oh yeah,
and God, the sound that comes out of that setup is fantastic.
it is. It's awesome.
And he definitely, I think he
It's
went.
like crude oil and silk all mixed together.
He cut down a little light, I think, for this show, obviously because it was Woodstock and the mass and the amount of people backstage, and he probably used more of what he had on hand. Yeah, I just wanted to say, ooh, a little bug. Usually,
a little dragonfly friend.
Usually, Jimmy would sometimes do 2-wah pedals. He would have like a backup
My God.
that he would incorporate.
Well, because you said he used the Vox wah pedal, which
And
like
he used to
usually
use the
he
Crybaby.
usually uses the Crybaby.
Yeah.
Because like there's the whole Crybaby signature, Jimi
Yeah.
Hendrix wah.
My guess
Yeah.
is he grabbed something that was around, maybe, I
Yeah,
mean,
what's there?
it's hard to say.
What's on hand?
Yeah.
I know that sometimes he would use 2 wahs, and I know sometimes he'd even have a backup fuzz as well. So I don't know, but the other thing is the other guitar player, Larry Lee's definitely running a fuzz and possibly a wah.
Well,
there's
his,
actually some parts on this where he's playing lead too.
Yeah, no, I
It's
I have that written
Yeah.
down. He has a few solos in this
Yeah.
on this album, which they're kind of
Well, I mean,
Yeah.
he's
They're
playing
not, like,
on
amazing,
stage. He's
but
playing on
they're-
stage at Woodstock with Jimi Hendrix.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
True.
it's kind of awful rough because it's like he's so far back in the mix.
Yeah.
You can like you have to be listening for it, and it's
Yeah.
like it's kind of hard to hear.
Yeah.
Speaking of the mix,
Well,
Do you want
actually,
me to
before we
talk
get to
about
the
that,
mix,
or-
I just want to go real
Okay.
fast on the. So for an amp, he had a Marshall Super Lead plexi heads with 4x12 cabs.
4x12 cabs, right?
4x12. And then he had his iconic 1968 Olympic white Fender Stratocaster, which he had just acquired the year before. The big thing with Jimi Hendrix, people always have trouble trying to emulate his tone, and a big reason is because he was a left-handed guitar player at a time when there weren't really too many lefty guitars. So he used to always take his Strats on any of his guitars and tune them backwards, upside down, like tune righty guitars. So I was reading up on it, and what that would do is, because the pickups are different on the lower strings as opposed to the higher strings, the attack is completely different from how it would sound normally. The other thing that I know with Jimmy that he used to do, and I don't know if this is the setup he had at the time, he used to often tune down to E flat, and sometimes he would even use different and weird gauges between the strings. So like normally you'd have,
different.
like
gauge
normally it'd be like 10
strings.
through 56 or
On this show,
Yeah, I don't know exactly
it
what
said he had
the-
light gauges that went up to an 8 on top.
yeah. But sometimes though, what I mean is like if
He
you
would
go,
use like so if you took like a string from one pack of like
yes,
11,
exactly.
and then took a string from like a
Like
10,
Like he might
from another
he
pack
might
or
grab
something.
like a G string from like a lighter pack and
Yeah.
then have the others be higher. He used to do weird stuff like that
Do you
all
think
the
that's
time.
intentional? Like I just want to play with it, or is that just I popped a string because I'm playing?
I think that
And
that
it's-
was
this is a
just.
pack.
I think that was a mixture of him accommodating for the fact that he was restringing the right-handed guitar upside down, and
Right.
just he found a general entire setup that just worked for him. That's what I think.
I never
but-
even thought about that though. The pickups are tailored differently
Yeah,
depending
for the
on what string they're
because
supposed to pick up.
they have to be in order to pick up the certain frequency that string is.
And then you
emitting.
flip it over. I mean, that's got to be
Yeah.
cool. That's got to sound really, really cool.
Yeah. It's why I think when you listen to people who are even, just trying to do a good Hendrix cover, it might sound right, like, time wise, or like to even get an element of the sound effects down, but you'll never quite have all of it unless you do it exactly
unless you do it exactly how he did it.
Yeah.
Also,
which is like hard because nobody learns guitar like almost.
Yeah.
I haven't seen a single person who learns guitar like that.
What's so interesting is that some of the old Hendrix documentaries and stuff that I can pull out of my head because it's how my head works is weird. He was like a jazz player. He just kind of playing.
Oh
bands.
yeah, he was in he played in the military band.
Yeah, exactly.
He played guitar in the military.
So that's
band.
a pretty regimented, straightforward way to learn guitar, and then the rest. I was talking to Alec yesterday, and the way he sounds in this show is like music and energy, if you want to use a visual metaphor, is this rushing torrent of water. It's a river. And Jimi Hendrix is this unfiltered tap into that river of energy.
Yeah.
There is no filter.
Yeah.
What comes out of him, he plays it before he thinks it.
We were discussing
And it's expression, it's passion, it's emotion, it's music, it's energy, it's spirits. It's great. It's everything.
Brilliant. It's crazy to think he got that and just kind of he did invent it.
He had it by
really.
27. He had it by
and
oh my God.
and from what? From his jazz.
Yeah.
Like he started out in jazz and then he invented a whole new style of playing.
Exactly.
I was saying to Braden too, I think a big thing with Jimi Hendrix, like a lot of guitar players have certain levels of this, but I don't think there's any guitar player that I know that is quite as like unified with the guitar as much as Jimi Hendrix. Like it's such an extension of everything he's doing, to Braden's point of being that like untapped, unfiltered river. Like Jerry almost gets a touch of that, and there's a ton of other guitarists that are unified with their guitar, but like Jimi Hendrix can just feel the guitar. Like he just, I don't know any other way to put it. Like he's like bleeding his brain through the guitar, basically.
Yeah.
He's just, I don't know. There's some connection that he has that no one else has figured out, I feel like.
Mm-hmm.
There's always a deep an intimate connection between the guitarist, their instrument, and how they're playing it.
Yeah.
When you're
any musician and their instrument.
Yeah. But the difference between Hendrix and other players is, when Jerry plays, he can make it cry, he can make it sing, he can make it rain, but you can tell that there's choices being made. With Jimmy, it's just spontaneous. It's happening. It's
The guitar is doing what he wants it to do.
But it's like it's a voice. It's not.
Yeah.
It's not just I'm picking the notes because I know this is gonna sound good or this is what I feel or something like that. It is an organic.
Yeah.
Well, I think I think kind of a part of like how he's able to do that, or how part of it is that I think he might have possibly had like perfect pitch or something along those lines.
Yeah.
Because he's
think about that.
in what was it? Message to Love, right? He starts singing with his guitar.
That's my favorite thing.
Yeah,
that's one of my favorite things he does.
Cool, it's really cool, but like that's hard to do on a solo, especially when you're. I assume he's improvising at least some of it.
Yeah,
and like that's hard to do, but he's singing pretty much right along with it.
Yeah. That's what I mean. It comes out of him before he even thinks.
Yeah.
Like he's realizing what he's done 3 notes down.
It's kind of like, how like when you see like Mayer, almost like you see him mouthing and like as he's playing.
Yeah.
It's similar to that, where like they kind of they have the idea in their head and they're just playing it out. They're not even thinking necessarily in notes or scales.
It's in real time.
Yeah.
An unpopular opinion I've always had is that I also like just overall the Band of Gypsies more than Jimi Hendrix Experience. And I know this isn't quite the Band of Gypsies, but it's got the same bass player. But same thing with what's the name? Same thing with Billy Cox. Like he also does a lot of the kind of like like especially on like later Band of Gypsies albums, he does a lot of that as well, where he's singing along to even what Jimmy's doing. So I just in general think that he was playing with better musicians when he got to the Band of Gypsies, or at least it more tailored the funk and blues kind of style he was trying to do. And I don't know, Billy Cox might have also had, I don't know if he had perfect pitch, but I just know that he does a lot of that as well. And he does that in this on, I think, Message to Love. He's doing some of that as well. He does
Billy
some of
Cox
the singing. I think Jimmy is doing it too, but I think he does some of it as well in there. So,
You mentioned he was playing with better musicians, and again, I wish we had been able to see, because Jimi Hendrix was spearheading his part of this new musical movement. A lot of stuff was coming out in the 60s, 70s that had never existed. New technology, new musicians, all that. But as everybody else evolved, he was always 10 steps ahead.
Yeah, that's true.
And so I'm wondering what would have happened when somebody caught up those 10 steps and he was still 10 steps ahead. What would have come out of that?
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of like, but we don't get Jimi Hendrix, but we got Prince. Like, he's releasing stuff. Not him, but like they're releasing albums that were recorded decades ago. I wish there was something a little more, a deeper reservoir for Jimi Hendrix in that respect.
Yeah.
Well, now they're just releasing live shows from him.
From Hendrix?
Yeah.
Yeah, they release a new. I think they're releasing one this year.
Like every year they come
Yeah,
out.
they've
my
been
God,
releasing new live
that's
shows.
awesome.
Yeah. The mix. We did this last week. Or I guess 2 weeks ago for part 1. I just talked a little bit about where everything was placed in the mix, in like when you're listening on headphones. And so I'm gonna I think that's a good idea. So I think I'm gonna try and keep doing that for every show
It's
we
actually
do.
really helpful.
I think
if
it's
you
an
listen, if you
interesting-
listen to a show in headphones, you can actually sit down and dissect that soundstage that you described.
Yeah, so I think it's a cool thing, and I'd like to talk about it. So
A recurring
with this
segment
one,
on
and
this
this
show.
is all just like me. It's just from what I hear. I'm not like looking this stuff up. It's just kind of what I hear. So with this show, you have Jimmy in roughly the center, but he's slightly off to the left. You have rhythm guitarist Larry Lee. He's like kind of in the center, maybe slightly off to the right. You have bass more so off to the right. You have drums mostly. So Mitch Mitchell's drums mostly surrounding the back of the soundstage, if you will, covers most of the spectrum left to right. But I think it's moved over a little bit to the right to make way for the percussion, which is positioned on the left in the soundstage. So yeah, that's it.
Yeah. Awesome. I'll do the set list real quick, and then we can just hop into the show a little bit. So the set list, this is from the album, the Live at Woodstock album, which you could find on Spotify or anywhere you listen to music. Technically, it's not exactly what the performance was. There's a few omitted songs, but you have a brief introduction with no music, Message to Love, Hear My Train A-Comin' with a machine gun tease in the beginning, Spanish Castle Magic, Red House, Loverman, Foxy Lady, Jam Back at the House, Isabella, Fire, and then a medley which goes Voodoo Child, Slight Return, into Star Spangled Banner, into Purple Haze, into Woodstock Improvisation, into Villanova Junction. And then one of the only Hendrix shows that ever had one, there's an encore, and they play their first song, Hey Joe.
That's
What
pretty
is
good.
what is everyone's
good
what's everyone's three favorites?
3 favorites for
We'll
this
start
one?
with you, Dave.
All right, we'll
I
go
guess.
this way.
Yeah.
So this is tough. Because I knew we were gonna do the 3 favorites, so I was trying to think as I was listening to this, and I kept going back and forth between so many different songs. But I think these are roughly my 3 favorites. Spanish Castle Magic. This is in no particular order. Spanish Castle Magic. I'd say Voodoo Child, and then I kept for this I was like Isabella or Loverman. I kept going back back and forth between those two, and I think I'm gonna go with Loverman on that one because I really enjoyed that song. Another also kind of like runner-up with that was Villanova Junction for me, but it was just a little short. Like I wish it was a little longer. It would have been cool.
So what I read is like when he was doing the medley, technically Woodstock Improv and Villanova Junction were just an ongoing solo. It wasn't really quite as like blocked out as like
Like
songs.
this is this song, this is that song.
Yeah, but I think for the album release, they kind of,
separated.
Well,
them
is
out a little more.
Villanova Junction? That's like not a song that he has recorded.
that I don't
or-
know. Like it very well might be.
Yeah.
It's not anything from his 3 studio albums that I know of. But
Yeah, I really enjoyed that jam that they had. I thought it was a dope, and it was also like it showed a cooler side of like dynamically. Like you had some more quiet dynamics.
Yeah.
It's not. It
there wasn't.
reduces that wall of sound for a moment.
Yeah, it
brings you
was
back
almost
down.
like a break, and it was kind of nice, but it was still pretty great, like playing and stuff. So, anyways,
Yeah.
Braden.
I'd probably say my 3 favorite are "Hear My Train A Comin'," "Jam Back at the House," and I mean, I don't want to be cliche and say "Star Spangled Banner" because I really just like that.
Yeah.
I really liked "Voodoo Child." So, "Hear My Train A Comin'," "Jam Back at the House," and "Star Spangled Banner" is that's separate. I'm not gonna pick that. So let's say "Voodoo Child." But those are so good. I mean, "Jam Back at the House" was just fun.
That was an
Because-
that's a great.
Because they were just having fun with it. Because like you can hear, there's a different energy between a song that you practiced before and something you figured out 3 hours ago.
Yeah.
Because it's more playful and experimental and fun, and I like that one a lot.
Yeah.
So I'd hear my train to come and just, oh my God, he's ripping.
Oh,
he's
yeah.
just howling at the moon, man. I can feel it in my soul. It's great.
It is a
digs.
beautiful version.
So, and just like that thing you were saying earlier, where he can play and sing. And
Yeah.
he's like, hear my train a coming, hear my
Oh
train
yeah,
a
and
coming.
the intro when
And
he's
doing the
it,
hits.
he's doing it. Yeah.
It's so good. It just pulls out what he's trying to say in there. So yeah, but that's I'm done.
Alec.
I think Braden brought up a really good point that we should cover. This is, of course, the extremely famous iteration of the Star Spangled Banner
is
that
the-
is
And infamous at the
iconic.
time. Not really infamous now. I think it's
Yeah.
universally loved.
Yeah.
Oh
pretty
yeah,
much.
but back
It was
in the
hated.
day,
Back then it was
Hated.
hated. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
you don't mess with the Star Spangled Banner
Yeah.
in the 60s,
Absolutely
70s,
hated.
and he put bombs dropping in the middle of it.
yeah.
I mean, as a protest, as a representation of what they saw in what America was doing abroad,
With
it was
Vietnam,
extraordinarily powerful. But broader society was not ready and did not accept it at that time,
No.
Not at all.
Yeah.
which is unfortunate. But oh my God, is it powerful today?
Yeah. And it definitely it's a good I know we mentioned like there's the tease with Machine Gun, but that version of the Star Spangled Banner definitely implies a lot of like what he did with Machine Gun, which is a Vietnam protest song right there. And same thing, like the effects he's doing with the whammy bar and the bomb effects,
Air raids,
and
dropping
it's
bombs,
awesome.
sirens. I mean, and it's
Like he literally makes like a machine gun sound
and
too.
it's accurate. I mean,
It's
if
crazy.
you listen to it and know what you're listening to, you know
Yeah.
what's going on. You can paint a
Yeah.
picture in your head.
I did
Yeah.
just want to say, funny enough, this is not the first time, and it's not the only time he ever played the Star Spangled Banner. He actually had played it
No.
like 30 other times before.
I didn't know
This
that.
is
This
just
was the
like
one that got the media
version.
media's
Yeah.
attention.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
It was Woodstock.
That's
But,
true.
It was the
Which
hippie
is why,
fest.
yeah,
If the
exactly.
media wanted to vilify hippies, they had
well,
it all
because the
in one
media
place.
was already covering
Yeah.
it because of the massive amounts of people.
Yeah.
So
my 3 songs for this show. My all-time favorite is always going to be Spanish Castle Magic from this
So
show. I love it so much. I think I really like Voodoo Child, and I like the version that's on here. I definitely don't think it's my favorite though. So I'm gonna probably say Message to Love is my number 2, and I guess I will say Voodoo Child is my 3rd. But yeah, so those are my 3. I don't know if anyone I just want to go to Spanish Castle Magic for a quick minute.
Yeah.
Okay.
I have a couple of just like quick things I wanted to point out with that one because I've really listened to that version so many times. The interplay
7 minutes and 5 seconds, by the way, for
Yes.
anybody wondering.
The interplay between the drums and Jimmy on that version are just beautiful. I also love when he pulls out of the mix on that and he's letting the bass and the drums do that kind of improv section in the middle.
Yeah.
And when he
that
comes
was easily one of my favorite parts.
Yeah, and he
on the-
comes
on the
back
song.
with the chug, and he perfectly mixes it in, and it's almost again like it's almost like a helicopter type effect a little bit.
This is
Yeah.
so cool.
There's also this part right before he does where he lets them do their thing at the end of that first solo. He has this one line where he is doing like I think it's a mixture of like octaves and like double stops, and he's kind of running down the scale, and at the end he does that, and at the end he does like a chugga chugga, like really fast though, and it's really quick. They're each like an eighth note and perfectly on the beat. But there's that one line is like one of my all-time favorite Jimi Hendrix lines
Yeah.
Yeah.
ever heard in anything. But yeah, those two moments, and there's a run at the end that he does down the scale that I just
Yeah.
wanted to mention. Because those three moments, honestly, for me, that's Jimi Hendrix. Like, that is there's something in those specific little parts that is so unique to him
Yeah.
that, yeah, I don't know.
No, it was an incredible song. I couldn't agree with you more. And it was, originally I had told you earlier before the podcast, I told you Voodoo Child was my favorite.
Yeah.
But the more I had listened to this show, the more I kind of saw what you meant by Spanish Castle Magic was your favorite.
Yeah.
Because that section
Brady.
where they yeah, bless you. That section where where it's just the bass and drums is killer.
Yes.
Mitch Mitchell is fucking. I mean, he goes off the entire
crazy.
album, but this song he really does. Oh man.
And I just think it also has. I think this
I-
song has one of the best. And I'll let you go right after this.
Okay.
I just think this song has one of the best. Like moments where they're really jamming together. It's
Yeah.
not just Jimmy on this one.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, definitely. I was also gonna say Jimmy has one of his best solos on this on this song. I think it's probably the best on the album.
Mm.
Was on this song.
Wow.
Um,
You think the first solo or the second one?
I think the second
Yeah.
probably.
Those are some big words, considering this is a very, very
Solo
good
heavy,
and-
yeah. Yeah. No, I mean well, yeah, it's like it's so hard to pinpoint the best because there's so many and each one has its moment of like or its run or lick that you're like, "Oh my god." I would just say this is probably the one that jumped out to me. As I was listening through and taking my notes, this is the one I think that jumped out to me as the best one.
That one, but I'm gonna challenge you. I really
Move
liked
on.
"Hear My Train A-Comin'."
Yeah. All right, well, let's talk about that
Yeah.
I
then.
think he pulled out a lot of stops there. It's just because you were saying something earlier, like that's Jimi Hendrix to me. I mean,
Mm.
I feel like everybody's got their individual, perceived essence of what that means to them. And I'm not saying you very accurate representations that you picked. For my version though, that is Jimi Hendrix to me is when he'll like do some crazy solo line into an effortless bend into an effortless set of like wall of sound style chords and then just right back pull it off.
Yes.
Like
Yeah.
because there is a communication there of I draw back to the only thing that I can understand because I'm a vocalist. It's not lyrics that he's playing. He's not playing something for the story. He's playing that run, that improvisation, that scream, that shout, that cry. That's something that like literally pulls your heart out of your chest or just stops you dead in your tracks and you're
Yeah.
like, "Oh my god, I got chills."
Yeah.
Yeah.
He can do that and he can do it every time. I don't know how else to describe it, but he has that connection to the music and the soul and the muse.
There's something with like you've talked a lot about how Jerry will kind of or the Dead will they'll pull you in and then they let you go and they kind of
they play with
they
attention.
guide you.
It's like a tide.
With Jimmy, it's like you're listening and then it's like 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 Jerry, like in the Dead, there's moments where like even in one song that's a great version, they might pull you in and you're like you're like to your point, like your ear, like you're like, oh
Yeah.
but then maybe later you kind of
You can come back
you
out.
kind of like
Just relax.
you go back to driving. With Jimi Hendrix, when he starts, man, he fucking demands and captures all of your attention and he just holds it and like
And he doesn't let you go.
No.
Like it's not like the Dead is a much more like relaxing, if you will.
It's like come be part of this with us in any
let's
way that you
enjoy
can
it.
be
Jimmy
part of this
is
with
like,
us. Jimmy's like, well, we're doing this now.
doing
We're on
this.
this ride and we're all going
Yes.
for the whole time.
Yeah.
And I think you know, with Hear My Train Coming and with Spanish Castle Magic, I think those two songs both have some of the best like in Spanish Castle Magic, it probably has even better is just dynamic range throughout the song. Like,
Yeah.
you know,
where it's kind of, it might be missing that on some other songs. I think.
he's slowing down. You know,
I'd say one of the places is missing is, I mean, I've talked about my least favorite on this album is Red House.
Red House.
Where I just think dynamically it is full on, like from Jimmy when the bassist and the drummer are kind of doing something more slow, relaxed, and Jimmy's just like,
I want to go.
yeah.
I could be wrong. I think Larry Lee might be doing some of the leads on that one, actually.
Oh, really?
I think, well, he does do a solo on that
I know,
song.
yeah. I think I have that, but
I think he might be doing some of the leads, but I'm not sure how much of them. Yeah,
Jimmy.
was Jimmy. I agree.
One of my things with that was I feel like he could have done some more slower melodic stuff closer to like B.B. King, or like something like that, where I think that would have added more to it, because it was kind of like a slow shuffle, and he was doing like
hardcore.
just like going super fast licks all the time, and it's like, dude, can we chill?
Yeah, can we
just
chill
like
for
a
a second?
second?
Jimmy, slow down.
Yeah.
Jimmy, slow down.
Yeah. So.
And I love when
that's
he
awesome,
plays, you know, to your point, when he does go a little more B.B. King and slower.
Yeah. Well, he does it a little bit on Villanova Junction. He does it a little bit, and I'm like, when I was listening to that, I was like, man, if you could have implemented some of this playing into Red House, would have been incredible. I think I would have liked that song a lot more.
Yeah.
My chair is breaking on me.
Oh no.
For those on the audio version.
Okay.
Again, this is another one of those points where I wonder. Yeah, it keeps you up at night when you think about artists that you love, because you see other brilliant guitarists advance and evolve and mellow as they get older. They take the skill set that they have and they're not afraid to come out and just maul your face off with a wall of sound, but they're also more comfortable sitting quietly with themselves on stage and playing, you know, some just nice bluesy shit.
Yeah, and maybe like they feel like they don't
tickle the
have
soul real
to
quick.
wow you or whatever. Like they can.
Y'all are here to see me. Let's have a great time doing what we all do together. That's generally what happens with time. They mellow out and just play. But and I'm not saying that he wasn't just playing. I'm saying that he was still in that excitement like stage where you know.
I think it was also. It also
going.
could have just been like it was. That was just the way he played. That was just who
Plus it's
he
Woodstock.
was.
I mean, there's that.
Yeah, and like Red House, that song isn't supposed to be. It's supposed to be like blazing fast riffs or whatever,
so
mixed
maybe
in with the slow shuffle. So like maybe that I don't know. Hadn't ever heard that song before this album, so like.
Well, I think I've heard a lot of versions of Red House that are definitely way slower, and the licks, the fast licks are very, you know, like chosen when they're put in.
It's not just all the time.
Yeah, and it is better. Like those versions of that song are definitely better. I think the Monterey Pop album has a version of Red House, but I could be wrong. But like totally different feel, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you guys have mentioned a bunch about the wall of sound that he kind of creates, and I do agree with you. It's a soundscape that is just insane. But
I'm
what
gonna
do you
try and find exactly what I think of when you say wall of sound.
Well, I
Okay.
think
Well, what
honestly,
I'm
on Voodoo
curious to
Child
know
is
is-
probably emphasized the best.
yeah.
in
Yeah,
my
Well, I'm
opinion.
curious to know though. Do you think that his wall of sound comes from his use of like the effects that he's using,
Yeah.
or do you think it's
It's a mix
it-
of
It's a
or,
mix.
like of
And
his
the-
effects and playing. Is
yeah.
that what you're gonna,
What I
yeah.
was gonna say is because I think that Jimmy, obviously, like he used to use his thumb a lot. He throws in notes that like the normal player out of ease would not. You just
Yeah.
But they fill the space.
Well,
Yeah.
in
he
such a
he
rich
uses
way.
he uses a lot of like open
yes, yeah,
strings. Like
exactly.
he doesn't always mute. He will mute strings. But, like he
Yeah.
doesn't always. A lot of times he'll like let that stuff ring,
yeah.
which contributes to it definitely.
Yeah.
It's a mix. I think it's a mix of its
That is
effects.
effects.
Also, I gotta
And,
mention.
yeah.
Like I'm looking at this cover, and a lot of guitarists they got the guitar faces and something, but you can always tell there's a little bit of, I don't know, tension. I mean, it's an act
Yeah.
in which your body you have to tense your muscles. This is the most relaxed picture of somebody just shredding guitar I've ever seen. His body looks
Yeah.
entirely naturally positioned, like he's not trying. He's just existing where he needs to. I mean, I can't.
Yeah,
It's a great
Just
picture.
Look at it. His
Yeah.
limbs are not tense. His face is not concerned. He is existing in the moment that is perfect.
Yeah.
This is an effort. This is euphoria.
Yeah.
It's at the
that
end
works.
of Hear My Train to Come in the beginning of Spanish Castle Magic. Again, where he's just kind of sitting there chilling, talking, and then all of a sudden he's like, "All right, we're gonna go into this song." It's like
Yeah.
straight.
Yeah.
And then from right there, he's just got you. He
Yeah.
holds you the whole song, the whole time. Partially because of the effects, and partially because of how
I think
he
it's
plays.
just his playing.
Yeah.
Yeah. And well, yeah, mix of effects.
And
But
I
that
think-
second guitarist really, really fills out this particular
Yeah.
show.
That's
Yeah.
true. I also think though what's really cool later, there's an album called Songs for Groovy Children. It was like
That's so cool.
a newer release. Oh, we got action.
Yeah, we got a jet ski show.
Yeah,
going on.
they're doing donuts behind us.
There's this but Songs for Groovy Children was recorded the New Year's Eve after this in 70, which would have been just a few months before he passed away. And that album has just some insane live stuff on it, but the wall of sound, I mean, that's a more contained environment. He's playing in New York City on New Year's Eve. It's cold, so they're inside. Like it's much more contained than Woodstock, and he probably had different pedals with him and a little bit more options.
Yeah.
But the wall of sound that he creates on that album on certain songs is amazing. But what Billy Cox is adding in also with the bass for creating just a bigger feel, and it like I would really say Billy Cox is playing on that album's even better. Like it really lends itself more to filling the space kind of in the way that the rhythm
Yeah.
guitar does on this one.
Yeah.
That's pretty impressive.
Well, I mean,
though.
I mean, they had only played a few times, so like
Yeah.
this was still they're still
Just the
very
beginning.
and
very
that's
new
also cool. I mean,
playing
I've
together.
you jam with people, you jam with bands, and there's definitely a playful, all right, let's see where this goes kind of vibe that goes around the room when you do that, and you can kind of feel that in certain songs. That's one of the reasons why Jam Back at the House
Yeah.
is one of my favorite songs. It just feels like they're jamming back
it
at
is.
the house.
Well, it is just a jam.
It's so cool, and they're doing it at Woodstock in front of
Yeah.
200,000 people. I mean,
That's
that
awesome.
also kind of just embodies the vibe of the festival. We're just gonna have fun and indulge in music together.
Yeah.
So yeah, I really like that.
I
a lot.
love when he says we only tried this, we've only done this. We've only played one or two times. We're still pulling it together.
Yep.
It's like
And then just go into some fantastic
Yeah.
song.
and then here's something we just did.
They absolutely
So.
destroy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did anyone have any other songs they wanted to specifically cover? I'll say quick on Voodoo Child. I really do like the version on here. His intro, like the playing during his like, the typical intro of the song's really cool on this one.
Yeah.
My only thing with Voodoo Child, why I do really like it, but I still think that there are better versions. Some of his solos on that are really cool, but there's also a lot of it where he's really just doing the hammer-ons and pull-offs, and they're kind of just jamming on that, and it's more of they're creating like an overall soundscape as opposed to him really like playing crazy licks, which is totally cool and a different feel. But
he's painting a picture, building an environment rather than giving you a solo line,
exactly.
or a monologue to listen to.
And he doesn't have as many like crazy bombastic solos on that one that are like with like, you know, that's why I think this version is a little bit different. But it is cool in how it creates something bigger than just like a few sections where he's gonna have crazy licks.
Yeah.
You know, and that's why it's longer and it survives a little longer than like the Spanish Castle Magic, for instance.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
To zoom out just a little bit, this show is iconic throughout, you know, musical circles, throughout history for several different reasons. But again, you know, I love Jimi Hendrix. I've listened to him a bunch, but I've never listened to this show straight through.
Yeah.
I've heard the Star Spangled Banner 1,000 times in 1,000 different documentaries about 1,000 different reasons why it's significant. But I've never heard it on the album. I've never heard it sandwiched in between the songs, it's sandwiched in between. And I've never heard this whole run
True.
in such a way. I mean, it's like a rebirth of my appreciation for Jimi Hendrix because of the way that he can play with that energy and that spirit that is music.
I never even realized that the song was even sandwiched in a
Neither
medley.
did I. I
Yeah,
thought it was
didn't
the
either.
last song. I thought it was the end.
I thought it was, just like on its own, and then maybe they go into a song right after it. But
Yeah.
But I had no idea, and I
didn't know
think
it
this
was
show was not only
it sounds almost like he planning on doing that. Like it sounds almost
Banner?
like it was just kind of. He just kind of was like, "Oh yeah, let's do this now. We're gonna do a."
I mean, I don't know what
Yeah.
he's doing for the last two. He's in E for those first, or E minor, I guess,
Yeah.
for those first three. So he probably, he just figured it's like the best segue between Voodoo and Purple Haze.
I mean yeah.
I don't know.
It's
But
phenomenal.
I'm happy we listened to this show, though. I think it's really good, and I think it also it is.
Yeah,
a
it gets
good
the Van
example.
Jammen stamp of approval.
The
Yeah,
Van
maybe.
Jammen
It's a
stamp
good
of
exemplification of not only what the essence of Woodstock was, but in a lot of ways, this show is a distillation of certain aspects of Jimi Hendrix.
Well,
Yeah.
I think another just interesting thing too. It's very timely now. It's still relevant, especially
Oh my
the
God.
version of the Star
Yeah.
Spangled Banner. I mean, you know, here we are on the 4th of July. We're 50 years later. You know, a lot of the problems that Jimi Hendrix was grappling with and protesting against and channeling through that version, you know, the civil rights movement, you had Vietnam at the time,
Wars
you had the
abroad.
LGBT movement was just starting, you had, you know, all these socio-political problems that he was, you know, part of the movement in, and he's
The tip of the
channeling
spear,
them,
if you will, is what he was.
yeah, and you look today, like
Yeah.
we're still grappling with a lot of these same issues. Black Lives Matter, you know, right out of the pandemic, we've had other problems with, you know, Stop Asian Hate, and
Yeah.
you know, we're at the end of Pride Month right now, and you know, like there's a lot of these things that are still relevant. The U.S., you know, we might not be involved in as big scale of a war as Vietnam, but
we've got the
Or
Forever
still-
Wars. We've
still-
got
yeah.
You know?
we've got Israel things going on
yeah.
now.
And
A
Jimi
whole-
Hendrix kind of, in a very different way, channeled that through, you know, his playing and through his sound. And
Yeah.
listening to, you know, the other night we were playing the Star Spangled Banner and we saw some fireworks going off.
That
I
And
wanted
awesome.
I wanted to tell that
Go ahead,
story
yeah.
if you want to. Yeah. I mean, yeah, we were on the boat because we were like, let's just chill, talk, you know, plan out the podcast a few days ago. And we just saw like a bunch of boats just chilling in this cove, and we were like, what is going on here? And then we just saw some fireworks start getting lit off, and we are playing the album. We're playing the live Woodstock album.
Yeah, so
And-
it starts. You wanna go?
Yeah, I was just gonna, and then we were just like, put on the Star Spangled Banner, and then we played it towards the end, and it was so America, and it's just so, like, I don't know, there's something about it, like when you play the Star Spangled Banner when fireworks are going off,
yeah,
you get this feeling,
yeah.
Yeah,
and it's such an American like stupid pride, but like it's
Yeah.
it's good. I don't know. It's a good feeling. It feels
for
cool.
some reason, it feels like a guilty pleasure because America, but like at the
Yeah.
same time, America, like
Yeah, it's like oh yeah.
So yeah, it's great. It's one of those things where you can look at a flag on the 4th of July and feel the guilty pleasure of pride. Like I'm not gonna get upset.
Well,
with
yeah,
you, for
you
that.
still feel that like
even
pride
for all
your
the sins of the
country,
country.
and just like where we've grown up, and
Yeah.
like even though like yeah we have a bad history, but every country has a shitty
Well,
history.
I think part of what he's channeling there too, though, is the through he's playing the distortion of the times, literally through what he's doing, and funny point too is like when we were on the way out there, I actually just had New York Times article pop up like right before, and it was talking about how we had just bombed, some bombings over the weekend in Iraq against Iran, and and then we heard it, and to that point, like it was just interesting to me.
I mean, it like, yeah, that pride doesn't mean that it's like you're like for
you accept all of this.
It's not. It's that you believe in bettering this country and like hopefully.
Yeah.
This banner is, in my mind, an embodiment of a sentiment that is shared by a lot of people, and even nowadays. You're right. It does ride with the times very well nowadays.
Yeah.
And that is, I love you. I care for you. I'm proud to be a part of you, but you do not represent what I stand for.
No, and
I
like
don't
we got
stand
some
for
work
this,
to do.
and we gotta work on
like
it.
we got some work to do.
Yeah.
Like
But
I
that doesn't
love
mean
this
I'm not
country,
part of you.
but
This is my
goddamn,
home.
we have
This
some
is
work to do.
my love, my life, my heart. But we gotta change some stuff
And
around
I think
here.
that
This
that's
doesn't represent what I represent.
I think that's Jimi Hendrix's biggest message with this Star Spangled Banner is just like we're not perfect. Like he loves this country too. Why else would he play the Star Spangled Banner?
He was very patriotic.
He was a veteran.
Yeah.
It's probably one of the more patriotic, and this is up for debate, but I'd say it's not really. It's one of the more patriotic renditions because in the actual rendition of the national anthem, it is one of the truest and controversial expressions of free speech.
Yes.
Like he's saying
course.
so much without saying a word, and it's intertwined with such a huge symbolic piece of our nation. Protest. It intertwines the two most fundamental baseline things that we live by here.
I think it also
freedoms and proud to have what we have, but also the responsibility to continue to iterate and improve upon it.
Yeah.
So I thought it's a very, very powerful thing.
It was. His guitar is like
he's singing through his guitar.
Yeah, his guitar is his way of expression.
And you can feel it. You can feel everything that's going through his mind and
yeah.
It's like lightning through the fingertips, and you can hear it through the amp.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
Dang, we
with that
get
are
on
we,
a tangent.
Yeah.
It's pretty
about
good.
Just about wrapping it up. I think
Yes.
we're
so
coming to about an hour
happy
here.
4th of July to everybody. Happy episode 4 of Van Jammin'. We will be coming back to you soon with some more content. I think we might have a few episodes on Zoom coming up just because I'm going to be in Boston.
Yeah.
But
let us know what you think of these new set changes, though. We've tried the van, we've tried Zoom, we've tried out here now.
I mean, or whatever you say, we're probably not going to stay with it just because we're kind of doing whatever we can.
Yeah.
And today was like, well, it's just a beautiful day.
We got lucky.
Yeah.
It's also it would be so hot inside that van.
Oh my God, I know.
The Van Jam is a mind and a mentality and a spirit.
if
It's not
Doesn't
not
have
a
to be in the
fixed
van.
thing.
No.
Today was a little bit of the boat jam.
Boat jamming, dock jamming.
Boat jamming.
By the water jam.
By the water
By
jam.
the water jam. Land jamming.
But yeah, so follow us on Instagram. Did you already say that?
Yeah, follow the. I
Van
did
Jammin' on
not.
Instagram?
Yeah, so follow at Van Jammin'.
Subscribe to the
subscribe to the YouTube
YouTube.
channel. And again, we're out. If you're listening to the audio version, you already know this. But if you're listening on YouTube, we have audio. The audio only version is out pretty much everywhere you get your podcasts. So.
Yeah.
Although this is to NordVPN. Do you need to be hidden in Russia for some reason?
Thank you guys.
Yeah,
we just
thank you
listed
guys
off
so much for
3 different
listening.
sponsors. Yeah, thank you so much for tuning in.
Thank
Hopefully
you.
we'll catch
All
you next
right.
time.
Peace.